The morning sun peeked through the thin curtains of a small apartment, casting a golden glow on the room. The little girl, only 4 years old, sat cross-legged on the bed with her toy doll. She was humming softly, waiting for her mother to finish getting ready. The air in the room was filled with both nervousness and hope. For the mother, today was not just any other day, it was the day that could change their lives. She had an important job interview at a big company, something she had been preparing for over the past few weeks. Her name was Sarah, a young woman who had faced more struggles than her age should have carried. Life had not been easy for her. She worked at small jobs before, sometimes cleaning offices, sometimes working at a local store, but nothing stable ever stayed long enough to give her peace. Bills kept piling up, and the responsibility of raising her daughter, Lily, alone had often left her awake at night. Yet, she never complained. She always smiled at Lily, never letting her child feel the weight of her worries. For Sarah, her daughter was not just her responsibility, she was her strength, her reason to keep moving forward. That morning, Sarah stood in front of the small mirror on the wall, carefully fixing her hair and choosing the simplest but cleanest clothes she had. It wasn't a fancy dress, but it was neat, ironed, and respectable. She wanted to look confident even though deep down her heart was beating fast with nervousness. She kept practicing answers in her mind, reminding herself of her skills, her experiences, and how much she needed this chance. Behind her, Lily's sweet voice broke the silence. "Mommy, where are we going today?" she asked, her big eyes full of curiosity. Sarah turned, smiled warmly, and sat beside her little girl. "Mommy has a very important meeting today, sweetheart. It's called a job interview. If everything goes well, Mommy might get a new job, and then things will be better." Lily tilted her head, holding her doll close. "Can I come too? I'll be very quiet. I don't want to stay home alone." Sarah's smile faded a little. She didn't have anyone to leave Lily with. Usually, she managed to ask a neighbor or a friend to watch her for a while, but today everyone was busy. She thought about saying no, but when she saw the pleading look in her daughter's eyes, her heart softened. "All right," Sarah said gently, "you can come with me. But you have to promise to stay close, behave nicely, and not disturb anyone. Can you do that for Mommy?" Lily nodded quickly, her little face lighting up with excitement. "I promise, Mommy. I'll be very, very good." And so, with one hand holding her small purse and the other holding her daughter's tiny hand, Sarah stepped out of the apartment. The street outside was busy as always, cars passing, people rushing to work, vendors calling out. Sarah walked with determination, trying to keep her thoughts positive. She told herself again and again that she was ready, that she deserved this chance, and that today could mark the start of something new. On the way, Lily kept talking in her sweet voice. She asked questions about the buildings they passed, about the buses, about the people in suits. Sarah listened patiently, though her mind was half lost in the upcoming interview. She was trying to remember the company's details, the position she had applied for, and the best way to present herself. Still, hearing her daughter's cheerful words gave her comfort. It reminded her that no matter what, she was not alone in this world. Finally, they arrived at the tall glass building where the company's office was located. Sarah stopped for a moment at the entrance, looking up at its height. For a second, she felt small, almost out of place. But then she squeezed Lily's hand, reminding herself why she was here. She had to be strong for both of them. Inside the building, everything looked grand. The floor was shiny, the lights were bright, and the people walking in and out looked confident and professional. Sarah held her daughter closer, feeling a little nervous. She walked toward the reception desk, where a lady sat neatly dressed, typing on her computer. The receptionist looked up with a polite smile. "Good morning. How may I help you?" Before Sarah could answer, Lily, with her innocent boldness, stepped forward slightly and said in her clear little voice, "I'm here for Mommy's job." The receptionist blinked, surprised, and then her smile grew wider. She glanced at Sarah, who immediately felt her cheeks grow warm with embarrassment. Sarah gently tugged at her daughter's hand, whispering, "Lily, let Mommy talk, okay?" But the receptionist let out a small laugh, clearly touched by the child's honesty. "That's wonderful," the receptionist said kindly, leaning forward to look at Lily. "Are you here to make sure your mommy gets the job?" "Yes," Lily answered without hesitation. "My mommy is the best. She works very hard, and she needs this job. I came to help her." Sarah's heart raced. She felt embarrassed but also strangely moved. She hadn't expected her daughter to speak up like that, but at the same time, her words carried so much truth and love that Sarah couldn't bring herself to scold her. The receptionist nodded, her eyes softening. "Well, I'm sure your mommy is very lucky to have such a smart little helper." She then turned to Sarah and asked for her name and the purpose of her visit, while still smiling warmly. Sarah gave the details, her voice slightly shaky, but the kindness in the receptionist's eyes gave her a little confidence. She felt as if, in that moment, her daughter's words had already changed something in the atmosphere. People passing by glanced at the little girl, some smiling, some whispering to each other. It was as if Lily's innocent declaration had created a ripple of warmth in the otherwise serious environment of the office. As they waited in the lobby, Sarah couldn't stop thinking about what had just happened. She worried that it might look unprofessional to bring her child, but at the same time, she couldn't deny the power of Lily's words. They were simple, pure, and full of love, the kind of words that adults often forget how to say. Sarah sat down on one of the chairs, holding her daughter close. Lily leaned her head on her mother's arm, whispering, "Don't be scared, Mommy. You're going to do great." "I know it." Tears filled Sarah's eyes, but she quickly blinked them away, not wanting to look weak. Instead, she kissed the top of Lily's head and whispered back, "Thank you, my love. I'll try my best." What Sarah didn't know was that upstairs, in the higher floors of the building, someone had already heard about the little girl's words at the reception desk. The story had started to travel from one employee to another, like a small spark of sunshine in the middle of a busy day. And that small spark was about to change everything that would follow. The receptionist guided Sarah to a waiting area. The room was quiet except for the sound of soft footsteps and the distant ringing of phones. The chairs were modern and neat, the kind that looked nice but weren't very comfortable. Sarah sat down carefully, holding her purse tightly on her lap while Lily climbed onto the chair beside her, her little legs swinging back and forth. Sarah tried to calm herself. She had been nervous since morning, but now her nerves were heavier than ever. She wondered if the company staff would think badly of her for bringing a child along. She wished she had someone to watch Lily at home, but there had been no choice. For a moment, she closed her eyes and took a deep breath, telling herself she had to stay strong. Lily, on the other hand, didn't seem worried at all. Her big curious eyes scanned everything around: the glass walls, the paintings on the side, and the tall men and women walking past with serious faces. To her, this place looked like another world, shiny and full of importance. She tugged at her mother's sleeve and whispered loudly, "Mommy, are these people also here for jobs?" Sarah quickly hushed her, pressing a finger to her lips, but a man sitting across from them chuckled softly, lowering his newspaper. "Quite an observant young lady," he said kindly. Sarah gave a polite smile but stayed quiet, not wanting to cause any more attention. Then came the sound of heels clicking against the floor. The receptionist returned, smiling warmly. "Someone will be down shortly," she said. "Please wait just a little while." Sarah nodded, her heart beating faster. She thought they would be called upstairs to a room, but she didn't expect what was about to happen. As she adjusted her bag and fixed her hair nervously, Lily suddenly slid off her chair and wandered a few steps toward the reception desk again. Sarah quickly whispered, "Lily, come back here," but her daughter's voice carried across the quiet lobby. "Excuse me," Lily said politely to the receptionist, her tiny hands resting on the counter. "When will Mommy's job start? She really needs it." The receptionist's eyes widened, then softened with sympathy. "Don't worry, sweetheart. We're going to see about that very soon." Sarah's face turned red with embarrassment. She hurried forward, picked up her daughter, and whispered, "Lily, you can't say things like that. Please, be patient." But before she could sit back down, another voice came from behind. A deeper, confident voice. "What's this I hear about Mommy's job?" Sarah froze for a second, then turned. Walking toward them was a tall man in a dark suit, his presence commanding yet calm. His hair was neat, his steps firm, and his eyes sharp but kind. He wasn't just another employee, there was something about the way people moved aside for him, how the receptionist straightened immediately, that made Sarah realize he was someone important. "Good morning, sir," the receptionist greeted quickly. "This is the candidate for today's interview, and her daughter." The man smiled faintly, looking down at the little girl who was now holding tightly onto her mother's shoulder. "So," he said gently, crouching a little to meet Lily's eyes, "you're here for your mommy's job." Lily nodded without hesitation. "Yes. Mommy works very hard. She always does everything for me. So I came to make sure she gets this job." The man chuckled softly, clearly charmed by her honesty. Then he glanced at Sarah, who felt her throat tighten. "I'm sorry, sir," she said quickly. "I didn't have anyone to watch her today, but I promise she won't disturb anyone. I really need this opportunity, and I'll do my best." The man studied her for a moment, then said with a smile, "Don't apologize. Sometimes, children tell the truth better than adults do." He straightened up and gestured toward the elevator. "Why don't you come with me? We'll talk upstairs." Sarah blinked, surprised. Usually, interviews didn't start this way. But she had no choice. She gathered her purse, held Lily's hand firmly, and followed the man. The ride up the elevator was quiet, except for Lily humming softly, swinging her doll in her hand. Sarah felt her palms sweating. She wasn't sure if bringing her daughter would ruin her chances or help them. She wanted to explain herself again, but the man simply stood calmly, checking something on his phone. When they stepped out onto the upper floor, Sarah realized how different it was from the lobby. The carpet was soft, the hallways lined with glass offices, and people moved about with files and laptops in hand. Everyone seemed busy. She felt small walking there, her footsteps light, as if she didn't belong. Finally, the man led them into a large office with wide windows overlooking the city. The room was elegant yet not overly decorated, with a wooden desk, a few chairs, and some family photos placed neatly on a shelf. Sarah noticed one of the pictures, a man with two children, smiling warmly. She realized then that this man wasn't just a boss, he was also a father. "Please, have a seat," he said, gesturing to the chairs in front of his desk. He then turned to Lily with a smile. "And you, young lady, you can sit right beside your mommy. Or," he added kindly, "you can sit on the couch there with your doll." Lily looked at her mother for permission. Sarah nodded, and the little girl went to sit on the couch, her doll in her lap, watching quietly. Sarah clasped her hands together nervously, unsure if the interview had officially started. But before she could ask, the man extended his hand. "I'm Daniel Carter, CEO of this company." Sarah's eyes widened. The CEO himself? She shook his hand with trembling fingers, her voice almost caught in her throat. I am Sarah Miller. Thank you for meeting me." He nodded. I heard about you and your daughter downstairs. It caught my attention, so I thought I'd meet you myself. Don't worry, it won't affect your chances. If anything, it tells me something about the kind of person you are. Sarah felt her cheeks warm again, but this time, there was a small comfort in his tone. It wasn't harsh or judgmental, it was kind, almost understanding. He leaned back in his chair. So, Sarah, tell me about yourself. Why do you want to work here, and what do you bring to this company? Sarah took a deep breath. This was her moment. She began to explain her background, her skills, her experiences in different jobs. She spoke about her ability to handle responsibilities, to learn quickly, to work hard even under pressure. Her voice shook at first, but as she went on, she grew steadier. She spoke not just about her need for the job but about her willingness to give her best if given the chance. Out of the corner of her eye, she could see Lily swinging her doll's arm gently, listening quietly. Sarah felt a strange strength in knowing her daughter was there, silently supporting her. Daniel listened carefully, nodding at times, asking small questions. His eyes showed genuine interest, not just formality. Sarah felt seen, truly seen, for the first time in a long while. The room was calm, but Sarah's heart kept racing. She wasn't sure how this unusual start would affect the outcome, but something deep inside told her that this meeting was different. And somewhere in the back of her mind, she couldn't stop hearing Lily's words at the reception desk, "I'm here for Mommy's job." Those innocent words had carried them to this very room, and Sarah knew this was only the beginning of what could become a turning point in their lives. Sarah sat nervously across from the CEO, her hands folded tightly on her lap. The room felt both welcoming and intimidating at the same time. Through the large glass window behind him, she could see the city stretching endlessly, cars moving like tiny dots far below. It made her realize just how high she was, not only in the building but also in this moment of her life. She was sitting in front of the most powerful person in the company, trying to prove her worth. Daniel Carter, the CEO, leaned back in his chair with an air of calm confidence. He wasn't frowning or rushing her, he seemed genuinely interested in what she had to say. That alone made Sarah feel slightly more at ease. Still, the pressure weighed heavily on her. This wasn't just another interview, it was her chance at stability, her chance to give her daughter a better life. "Tell me more about your past jobs," Daniel said, his voice firm but not harsh. "What kind of responsibilities have you handled?" Sarah hesitated for a moment, then spoke carefully. "I've worked in different places, sir. I was an assistant at a small office before, where I managed paperwork and phone calls. After that, I worked in a store, helping with customers and organizing stock. Most recently, I worked as a cleaner at a school, but that job ended when they reduced staff." She paused, lowering her eyes. "Each job was different, but I always tried to do my best. I learned quickly, adapted to new tasks, and managed whatever was given to me." Daniel nodded, jotting down a few notes. "So you're familiar with handling multiple responsibilities. That's good." He glanced up again. "And how do you handle pressure? This role will require quick decisions, deadlines, and sometimes stressful situations." Sarah took a deep breath. "Honestly, being a single mother has taught me a lot about pressure. Every day comes with challenges: managing bills, taking care of my daughter, making sure nothing falls apart. It's not easy, but I've learned how to stay calm, focus on solutions, and not give up." She glanced toward Lily, who was sitting quietly on the couch, hugging her doll but watching her mother with wide eyes. "She's my reason for staying strong, no matter what." Daniel followed her gaze toward Lily and smiled faintly. "I can see that." He leaned forward slightly, resting his elbows on the desk. "Children often give us more strength than we realize." Sarah nodded softly, her throat tightening. She hadn't expected such understanding from a man in his position. Most people she had met in her job search had treated her like just another applicant, rushing through questions without truly listening. But here, the CEO himself was sitting across from her, giving her his full attention. It felt unusual, almost unreal. Just then, Lily's small voice broke the silence. "Mommy is the best at working. She always works hard, even when she's tired." Sarah's eyes widened, and her cheeks flushed red. "Lily," she whispered quickly, "remember what we said about staying quiet." But Daniel chuckled, shaking his head. "It's all right. Sometimes, honesty from a child is more valuable than any answer on a resume." He turned toward Lily. "And what do you think your mommy is best at?" Lily thought for a moment, swinging her doll. "She's best at making me happy. And she never gives up, even when things are hard." The room fell quiet for a few seconds. Sarah lowered her head, embarrassed but also deeply moved. Daniel studied her face thoughtfully, as if those innocent words had revealed more about her than any formal interview could. Finally, he cleared his throat. "Well, Sarah, let's continue. Tell me, why do you want to work here in particular? What about this company made you apply?" Sarah straightened her back, trying to focus. "I've heard good things about this company. It has a reputation for stability and fairness. I want to be part of something that lasts, something where I can grow and give back. I don't just want a job, I want a place where I can build a future for myself and my daughter." Daniel nodded slowly, his eyes sharp but kind. "I see." He scribbled another note, then leaned back again. "You know, most people come in here rehearsed, giving me polished answers. But you're speaking with honesty. That's rare." Sarah felt her heart beat faster. She didn't know if that was a compliment or a warning, but she stayed quiet, waiting for him to continue. He leaned back in his chair, glancing once more at Lily. "Raising a child alone isn't easy. I respect the fact that you're here despite everything. But I have to be honest with you too, this job will be demanding. It will test your patience and your energy. Do you think you can handle that while also being a mother?" Sarah didn't answer right away. She thought about all the nights she had stayed awake worrying, the mornings she had rushed to make everything work, the sacrifices she had made to keep moving forward. Finally, she looked him in the eye. "I won't pretend it will be easy, sir. But I've been handling difficulties for years. I know how to balance, how to fight through tiredness, and how to stay focused. If given the chance, I'll prove that I can manage both." Her voice was steady now, carrying a quiet strength that even surprised her. Daniel studied her for a moment, then nodded slowly. "That's the kind of answer I was hoping to hear." A silence settled in the room again, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was thoughtful, as if Daniel was weighing everything carefully. Sarah sat still, her fingers gripping the edge of her purse, her heart pounding. She didn't know if she had impressed him or if she had already lost her chance. Then, suddenly, Lily spoke again, her little voice innocent but strong. "Sir, will you please give Mommy the job? She really needs it. I promise she'll do her best." Sarah nearly gasped, covering her daughter's hand quickly. "Lily. That's enough, sweetheart." But Daniel laughed warmly, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "You've got quite the little advocate here, Sarah. She might just be your best reference." Sarah managed a nervous smile, unsure how to respond. Inside, though, her heart swelled. She wished she could explain how much her daughter's words meant, how much strength they gave her at this very moment. Daniel finally closed his notebook and set his pen down. "All right," he said calmly, "I think I've heard enough for now. Give me a little time to discuss this with my team. We'll get back to you soon." Sarah nodded quickly. "Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time." She stood up, gathering her purse, and gestured for Lily to come to her side. As they walked toward the door, Daniel's voice stopped them. "Sarah." She turned back, her heart skipping a beat. He smiled faintly. "No matter what happens, you should know you've already made an impression. Not many people can do that." Sarah felt her eyes sting with emotion. She gave a small nod, whispered another thank you, and left the office with Lily's hand in hers. The hallway outside felt quieter, almost lighter. Sarah didn't know what the outcome would be, but something inside told her this was only the beginning. And once again, it was Lily's pure honesty that had shifted the moment. As they stepped into the elevator, Lily looked up at her mother with a smile. "Mommy, did I help?" Sarah bent down, kissed her daughter's forehead, and whispered, her voice trembling with love, "Yes, my angel. You helped more than you'll ever know." And in that instant, Sarah realized that no matter how uncertain the future was, she was not facing it alone. Together, with her little girl by her side, she had a strength greater than anything the world could throw at her. The elevator doors opened slowly, and Sarah and Lily stepped back into the busy lobby. People moved quickly around them, men and women in suits with folders in their hands, phones pressed to their ears, their faces focused and serious. In the middle of all that rush, Sarah walked quietly, holding Lily's hand tightly. Her heart was still racing from the interview. She replayed every word in her mind, wondering if she had said enough, if she had answered properly, if her nervousness had shown too much. She thought about Lily's innocent interruptions, her little comments and questions. Were they helpful, or did they ruin everything? The uncertainty weighed heavy on her, but she forced herself to stay calm. Lily, however, was cheerful. She skipped along beside her mother, holding her doll, her small voice rising above the noise of the lobby. "Mommy, did the man like you?" "I think he did. He smiled at you a lot." Sarah smiled faintly, though worry still sat in her chest. "I hope so, sweetheart. I really hope so." They stepped outside into the afternoon sun. The city looked brighter now, the tall buildings glowing in the light. Sarah inhaled deeply, letting the fresh air fill her lungs. For a brief moment, she closed her eyes, imagining what it would feel like if she actually got the job. She pictured steady paychecks, a routine, a chance to provide Lily with more than just the basics. She imagined walking into that office every day with pride instead of fear about tomorrow. But then reality tugged her back. Nothing was certain yet. She had learned not to dream too much until things became real. Life had taught her to protect her hopes carefully. As they walked toward the bus stop, Lily suddenly tugged her hand. "Mommy, I'm hungry. Can we get something to eat?" Sarah glanced into her purse. There wasn't much money left after paying rent and buying groceries. Still, she couldn't say no to her daughter's innocent request. She stopped at a small bakery nearby and bought a single pastry. It wasn't much, but Lily's eyes sparkled as she held the warm treat in her tiny hands. They sat on a bench outside, sharing it between them. Sarah watched her daughter eat happily, her little legs swinging off the bench, crumbs falling on her dress. The sight filled Sarah with both warmth and ache. This simple moment, a small piece of bread, shared on a city bench, felt like everything. While Lily chewed, Sarah thought again about the interview. The CEO's words replayed in her head, "You've already made an impression." She wondered what exactly he meant. Was it good enough to give her the job? Or was it just polite encouragement? As she thought, Lily leaned against her shoulder and whispered, "Mommy, I told him you're the best. So he will give you the job." Sarah kissed her daughter's forehead softly. "You are my little angel. You always believe in me more than I believe in myself." For the next few days, Sarah lived in a mix of hope and worry. She checked her phone constantly, waiting for a call or an email. Every time it rang, her heart jumped, only to fall again when it was just a message from a friend or a promotional text. Nights felt long as she lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering what the future would hold. During the day, she tried to keep herself busy. She cleaned the apartment, looked through job listings online, and cooked simple meals for Lily. But no matter what she did, her mind kept circling back to that interview. She remembered how Daniel, the CEO, had listened carefully, how he had smiled when Lily spoke, how he had said she made an impression. Lily, on the other hand, had no doubts. Every morning she woke up and asked, "Mommy, are we going to your new job today?" And every time Sarah gently replied, "Not yet, sweetheart. We have to wait." One evening, after putting Lily to bed, Sarah sat by the window with a cup of tea in her hands. The city lights twinkled outside, and the hum of traffic filled the air. She thought about her journey so far, the struggles, the countless rejections, the moments of almost giving up. And now, this chance stood before her, like a doorway she desperately wanted to walk through. She prayed silently, asking for strength, asking for hope, asking for one opportunity to change their lives. The next morning, as she was washing dishes, her phone buzzed on the counter. She dried her hands quickly and picked it up. Her heart skipped when she saw the company's name on the screen. With trembling fingers, she answered. "Hello, is this Sarah Miller?" a professional voice asked. "Yes, this is Sarah," she replied, her voice shaking. "Good morning. I'm calling from Mr. Carter's office. He would like you to come in tomorrow morning to continue the process regarding the position you interviewed for." Sarah's eyes filled with tears of relief. "Yes, of course. Thank you so much." After the call, she sat down, covering her face with her hands. A wave of gratitude and nervousness washed over her. Lily ran out of the bedroom, rubbing her eyes. "Mommy, what happened?" Sarah pulled her close, hugging her tightly. "We have to go back tomorrow, sweetheart. They want to see Mommy again." Lily clapped her little hands. "I told you. They liked you." The next day, Sarah dressed carefully again. This time, her nervousness was mixed with a little confidence. She wasn't walking into the unknown anymore, she was walking into possibility. Once again, she held Lily's hand as they entered the tall building. When they arrived, the receptionist greeted them with a warm smile, clearly remembering the little girl's bold introduction from before. "Welcome back," she said kindly. Soon, they were led to a conference room where a few managers were seated along with Daniel. The atmosphere was more formal this time, but Daniel's presence still brought comfort. He greeted Sarah politely and even waved at Lily, who waved back with a giggle. The discussion that followed was detailed. The managers asked about her skills, her availability, and her experiences. Sarah answered honestly, drawing from everything she had learned in her previous jobs. She didn't try to sound perfect, she simply showed her determination, her ability to learn, and her willingness to work hard. At one point, Lily, who was coloring quietly at the corner of the table with some paper given to her by the receptionist, looked up and said, "Mommy is very good at cleaning. She makes everything shiny." The managers chuckled, and even Daniel laughed softly, breaking the tension in the room. Sarah felt embarrassed, but inside, she also knew that her daughter's words carried truth. She wasn't polished or fancy, but she was hard-working. And maybe, just maybe, that was what mattered most. By the end of the meeting, Daniel stood up and thanked her for coming. His eyes carried a certain warmth as he said, "We'll be in touch very soon." As Sarah walked out with Lily, she felt lighter. She didn't know the final result yet, but something inside told her that her journey was moving in the right direction. Lily held her hand tightly and whispered, "Mommy, I think you're going to get it." Sarah looked down at her daughter, her heart swelling with love. "Maybe you're right, sweetheart. Maybe you're right." And as they stepped out into the bright sunlight again, Sarah felt a spark of hope glowing stronger than ever before. The following days felt longer than ever. Each morning, Sarah woke up with hope, checked her phone, and waited for an email or a call. She tried to distract herself with chores and looking after Lily, but deep down, her thoughts kept circling back to the interview. Every answer she had given, every look exchanged, and every word Daniel had spoken replayed in her mind again and again. Lily, however, remained cheerful and certain. She never doubted for a second. "Mommy, you already got the job," she said one afternoon as they sat by the window together. "They just didn't tell you yet." Sarah smiled at her daughter's confidence. "You really believe in me that much?" "Yes," Lily said proudly, hugging her doll. "Because you're the best. And because I told the man you work very hard." Her words were like a light in Sarah's heart. Even when doubt crept in, her daughter's faith gave her strength to keep believing. Finally, on a Wednesday morning, her phone rang again. Sarah's heart almost leapt out of her chest when she saw the company's name on the screen. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. "Hello. Good morning, this is Mr. Carter's office," the voice on the line said kindly. "I'm happy to inform you that you've been selected for the position." "Congratulations, Sarah." For a moment, Sarah couldn't even breathe. Tears filled her eyes, and she pressed her hand to her mouth, whispering, thank you so much." After the call ended, she turned to Lily, who was standing nearby with wide, expectant eyes. "Mommy got the job," Sarah said, her voice breaking with joy. Lily squealed, running into her arms. "I knew it! I knew it! Mommy, you did it!" They hugged tightly, laughter and tears mixing together. For the first time in a long while, Sarah felt a heavy weight lift off her shoulders. The future was still uncertain, but now it was filled with possibility instead of fear. The next week, Sarah began her new job. Walking into the tall building again felt different this time. She wasn't just a nervous applicant anymore, she was an employee, part of something bigger. She dressed neatly, her steps more confident, though she still carried a little nervousness inside. When she reached the office, she was surprised to find Daniel waiting near the entrance. He smiled warmly and extended his hand. "Welcome to the team, Sarah. We're glad to have you." Sarah shook his hand, still humbled by the fact that the CEO himself was treating her with such kindness. "Thank you, sir. I'll work hard and do my best every single day." "I believe you will," Daniel said. "And remember, it wasn't just your answers that impressed me. It was the way you carried yourself, and the way your daughter spoke about you. That honesty, that love that told me more about your character than any resume could." Sarah's throat tightened with emotion. She nodded, her eyes glistening. "I'll never forget this opportunity, sir." Her first days at work were challenging. There was so much to learn, so many new responsibilities, and the pace of the office was faster than anything she had experienced before. But Sarah didn't complain. She worked diligently, asking questions when she needed help, staying focused even when she felt overwhelmed. Slowly, her confidence grew. Sometimes during breaks, she thought about how close she had come to giving up before this opportunity arrived. The rejections, the sleepless nights, the tears she had hidden from Lily, it all felt worth it now, because this job was a door that had opened at just the right moment. Lily was just as excited about the change. Every evening when Sarah returned home, her daughter would run into her arms, asking eagerly, "How was work, Mommy? Did you do good?" Sarah would laugh and say, "I tried my best," and Lily would always reply, "I know you did." One Friday afternoon, a few weeks into the job, Daniel invited Sarah to his office. She walked in nervously, wondering if she had made a mistake. But instead, Daniel gestured for her to sit and said, "I just wanted to check on you." How are you finding the work so far? Sarah smiled shyly. It's busy, sir, but I'm learning a lot. I'm grateful every day. Daniel nodded. Good. I want you to know that this company isn't just about numbers and deadlines. It's about people. And you've already shown us how much dedication and resilience you have. He paused, then added with a smile, also, I still remember your daughter's words the first day we met. I think I'll never forget them. Sarah laughed softly, the memory both embarrassing and heartwarming. She speaks her mind. I didn't expect her to say that in the lobby, but maybe it was meant to happen. Maybe it was, Daniel agreed. Sometimes, the purest truths come from a child's mouth. As Sarah left his office that day, she realized something important. This job wasn't just about money or survival anymore, it was about dignity, about showing her daughter that hard work and honesty could truly open doors. Months passed, and Sarah settled into her role. She became more confident, her skills improving, her colleagues respecting her. The routine of steady work brought peace into her life. She could pay bills on time, buy better groceries, and even save a little for the future. One evening, after picking Lily up from preschool, they stopped by a small ice cream shop. They sat together on a bench, enjoying their treats as the sun set. Lily licked her cone happily and said, "Mommy, I like your new job. You smile more now." Sarah's eyes filled with tears as she hugged her daughter close. "That's because of you, my love. You helped me get here." Lily tilted her head, confused. "But I didn't do anything." "Oh yes, you did," Sarah said softly. "You believed in me when I was afraid. You spoke up when I stayed quiet. You reminded me that I'm stronger than I think. Without you, I might have walked away that day. But you gave me courage." Lily beamed, not fully understanding the depth of her mother's words but happy to see her smile. That night, after tucking her daughter into bed, Sarah sat quietly by the window again. The city lights sparkled outside, just as they had on the night she had prayed for change. But this time, her heart was lighter. She realized that her life wasn't just about struggles anymore, it was about hope, about growth, and about the little hand that had guided her toward a better future. She whispered to herself, "I'm here because of her. She came for Mommy's job, and in a way, she gave it to me." And with that thought, Sarah smiled through her tears, knowing that no matter how hard life became again, she and Lily would always have each other. Together, they had turned a moment of innocent honesty into the start of a brand new chapter.